Howdy, partner. The vast, unforgiving deserts and jagged, unyielding mountains of the American West are not merely settings for tales of lost treasures. They are active characters in the drama, swallowing secrets and claiming the lives of those who get too close. The West was a land of immense opportunity and unrelenting peril, a place where boomtowns materialized overnight and law and order were secondary to the feverish quest for riches. This chaotic and lawless environment, fueled by the California gold rush, laid the groundwork for legends of lost treasure that would become integral parts of the American narrative. Today, we're venturing into a world of myth, betrayal, and obsession to uncover the truth behind some of the most famous lost treasures of the Wild West. We'll explore the fabled lost Dutchman's mine, where a secret died with a German prospector, and the lost Adams diggings, a tragedy-fueled quest for a canyon overflowing with gold. We'll also look at caches of outlaw loot and even a modern-day government conspiracy theory surrounding a hidden fortune in New Mexico. We'll see how these stories are more than simple folk tales. They are complex tapestries woven from treacherous landscapes, fatal betrayals, and in some cases, outright fabrications. So, settle in as we dig deep into the legends that continue to captivate the imagination and send a steady stream of hopefuls into the untamed wilderness in search of a fortune that may never have existed. Jacob Waltz, a German immigrant whom locals mistakenly called the Dutchman, was known for paying for goods with high-grade gold ore, sparking rumors of a secret, incredibly rich mine in Arizona's Superstition Mountains. Waltz was fiercely secretive and allegedly killed those who tried to follow him. The geology of the Superstition Mountains isn't actually conducive to large gold deposits, which led to speculation that Waltz wasn't mining but was instead high-grading or stealing from an existing known source, a fact that only deepens the mystery of the gold's true origin. The pivotal moment in the legend is Waltz's death in 1891, a moment that gives rise to two conflicting narratives. According to one account from his caretaker, Julia Thomas, a sick and frail Waltz gave her directions and a map to the mine. When her expedition with the Apache brothers failed, she began selling her own fraudulent maps, a practice that helped commercialize and perpetuate the legend. A competing account from two men, Dick Holmes and Gideon Roberts, claims they received a detailed deathbed confession and a large box of gold ore from Waltz. However, historians find this version suspicious, given Waltz's history of extreme secrecy and violence toward anyone who tried to follow him. The fact that these contradictory stories exist is exactly why the legend remains so powerful. A single verifiable account would have led to either the discovery of the treasure or the proof of its non-existence. Instead, the narrative's ambiguity allows new treasure hunters to latch onto the clues that appeal to them, endlessly repeating the search. The Superstition Mountains have claimed countless lives and led to numerous disappearances, earning the area a reputation as a cursed and dangerous place. The search for the mine has turned the real-world dangers of the desert into a mythological element that makes the search more compelling and justifies its perpetual mystery. The legend, in a sense, feeds on the misfortunes of those who pursue it. Similarly, the story of the lost Adams diggings is a poignant tale of survival and a lifelong, unfulfilled quest. In the 1860s, a freighter named Ed Adams joined a group of prospectors who were guided by a scout to a hidden canyon in the rugged mountains of eastern Arizona or western New Mexico. The canyon was a miraculous discovery, with a stream so rich with placer gold that the nuggets were described as being as big as turkeys' eggs. The men amassed a fortune in gold, but they defied a stern warning from an Apache chief to stay away from the area above the falls, a defiance that proved fatal. An Apache attack resulted in a massacre, leaving Adams as one of the few survivors. Adams and his partner wandered for days, disoriented from the traumatic ordeal, and his partner died. Adams was eventually found by an army patrol with a single gold nugget as his only tangible evidence of the fortune. For the rest of his life, Adams was obsessed with finding the elusive canyon, a quest that drew others to him and gave the legend a life beyond its originator. The account explicitly notes that Adams was dazed and delirious when he was found, and his later inability to recognize landmarks can be interpreted as the psychological toll of the traumatic event. The legend received a powerful resurgence not from a new discovery but from a major economic event, the Great Depression. Following the stock market crash of 1929, thousands of unemployed and destitute people were drawn to the area in search of a life-changing fortune, giving the legend a renewed purpose and audience. This external socio-economic force gave the myth a second life, proving that some lost treasures persist because they speak to a collective human desire for hope in times of despair. Now, before we move on to the lost riches of outlaws and governments, I have to ask, do you think you'd be able to keep a secret if you found a mine overflowing with gold? Tell us what you think in the comments below. The legend of the lost Confederate gold is a myth rooted in a complex historical reality. The story begins in April 1865 as the Union Army advanced on Richmond, Virginia. In a frantic retreat, President Jefferson Davis and his cabinet fled south, reportedly carrying what was left of the Confederate treasury. While rumors swelled that they were carrying millions, the historical record suggests a far less romantic truth. The true value of the treasury was likely closer to $500,000, not millions. Much of this money was either dispersed to pay soldiers and travel expenses or was simply stolen in the chaos of the Confederacy's collapse. Despite the fact that historians have accounted for much of the gold's fate, the mystery persists, particularly in regional legends. This is because the myth simplifies a series of messy, mundane events, dispersal, theft, and expenditure, into a single romantic story of a massive hidden cache waiting to be found. It's far more appealing to believe that a vast fortune is still out there than to accept the historical reality that a desperate government simply ran out of money. The legends of outlaw loot are often more localized and specific than those of lost mines and national treasuries. A prime example is Holden Dick's stolen gold. In 1881, a lone bandit ambushed a freight wagon in California's Modoc County, killing 3 guards and stealing a massive amount of gold ore. The crime went unsolved for years until an Indian named Holden Dick was arrested for murder. Authorities discovered he was the bandit and had been trading small amounts of gold for years, which he reportedly kept in a cave in the Warner Mountains. However, he passed away in prison without revealing the location, leaving the treasure lost forever. Similarly, the notorious outlaw Sam Bass is said to have buried a significant fortune from his train and stagecoach robberies in the Texas Hill Country. Legends point to specific locations like a hollow tree in Round Rock or a cave on Packsaddle Mountain. Bass was killed in a shootout with Texas Rangers in 1878, taking the secrets of his caches with him. The specificity of these clues, a hollow tree, a rock and a fork, stands in contrast to the vague, shifting clues of the lost mines. These stories are rooted in specific, verifiable, but ultimately untraceable historical events that came to an abrupt, tragic end, creating a mystery that is purely locational rather than existential. One modern myth that stands out is the legend of the Victoria Peak treasure, which shifts the blame for a lost fortune from nature or memory to a powerful, opaque institution, the U.S. government. The story begins in 1937 when Milton Doc Noss claimed to have found a hidden cavern on Victoria Peak in New Mexico's Hembrillo Basin. He described a trove of Spanish armor, jewels, human skeletons, and as many as 16,000 gold bars. In 1939, Noss accidentally sealed the cave with dynamite, and a decade later, he was shot and killed by an associate after a dispute over a promised payout, leaving his family in a decades-long legal and personal battle to find the treasure. In 1955, the peak was absorbed into the White Sands Missile Range, a restricted military zone, forcing Noss's wife, Babe, off the site. The persistent rumors of military involvement give the legend a contemporary, conspiratorial resonance, fueling claims that the treasure was, in fact, found but secretly confiscated. This shift in the narrative's central conflict makes the story far more compelling to a modern audience, explaining its longevity and appeal. And finally, the Beal Ciphers represent a fascinating counterpoint to all the other legends, as they are almost certainly a grand fabrication. The mystery began in the 1800s when a man named Thomas J. Beal allegedly buried a treasure of gold, silver, and jewels, now valued at over $60 million in Virginia. He entrusted an iron strongbox containing 3 encrypted messages to a local innkeeper, Robert Morris. The messages were supposed to contain the location, a description of the treasure, and a list of the heirs. Years later, a friend of Morris's was able to decipher the second message, which described the treasure's contents using the Declaration of Independence as the key. However, the other 2 ciphers remain unsolved to this day, leaving the treasure's location a secret. While the lure of cracking the code has captivated enthusiasts for over a century, scholarly analysis points to an elaborate hoax. Cryptographers have noted inconsistencies in the ciphers and the decoded text, and historical researchers have found no record of a man named Thomas J. Beal. The Beal ciphers demonstrate that the narrative of a lost treasure can be far more valuable than the treasure itself. The publication of the ciphers in a pamphlet in 1885 was a brilliant proto-modern marketing strategy, creating a treasure hunt that could be undertaken from an armchair. The fact that the treasure is likely a hoax doesn't diminish its allure. In fact, the mystery of the creator and their motive only adds to the legend. The modern pursuit of lost treasures of the Wild West has been radically transformed by technology. Today's treasure hunters are no longer limited to pickaxes and shovels. They are armed with sophisticated equipment such as advanced metal detectors with multi-frequency scanning, ground-penetrating radar, and even drones. These modern devices can distinguish between different types of metals, estimate the depth of a target, and filter out junk in real time, offering a level of precision that would have been unimaginable to a 19th century prospector. However, the greatest challenge for the modern treasure hunter is not a faulty map or a harsh landscape, but the labyrinthine legal framework that governs discovery. On federal and state lands, laws like the Archaeological Resources Protection Act make it illegal to remove historical artifacts that are over 100 years old. The long-held belief of finders keepers is legally invalid, as any valuable find on public land generally belongs to the government. On private property, the rules are less rigid but still complex. While the legal concept of a treasure trove refers to valuable items with an unknown owner that are hidden or buried, the law varies by state and can be extremely complex, often requiring a consultation with a legal professional. These legal landmines represent a new kind of obstacle for a new generation of adventurers. Ultimately, the search for these lost treasures is not just a quest for wealth. It is a profound engagement with American history and folklore. The enduring allure of these stories lies not in their ability to lead to a discovered fortune, but in their capacity to speak to a deeper human desire for adventure, mystery, and the possibility of a life-changing discovery. The fact that these treasures have never been found is precisely what ensures their continued legacy. They are timeless puzzles that will continue to captivate the imagination, serving as a reminder that the greatest reward of the treasure hunt is often the hunt itself. Well, partner, if you've been enjoying this deep dive into lost history, go on and hit that like button. It's a small click that helps us a great deal. And tell me, which of these lost treasures would you want to find, and what would you do with the loot? Let me know in the comments below.